So I want to say good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Blue Innovation Networking event and Q&A. As all of you who have registered today, we're very pleased to see all of you here. And the goal for today's event is really to help those persons who have joined, who wish to participate in the Blue Innovation Call. We understand there are a number of persons who have some questions, who would like to apply. And so we would like to use this opportunity to help those of you who might have any last minute questions, queries, or need any extra clarification, because with the deadline of April 25th being very near, we want to be able to ensure that you submit your application with confidence on time. So what I would like to do is to ask any person who is here to start by placing any questions in the chat, or if there are any questions that you would like to be able to have answered. If you feel the question is too long and you wish to unmute yourself, we'd ask you to raise your hands or unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Equally, for any person who we would save for this event, just to let all persons know in advance, any queries, any questions that are answered here, we also share the transcripts, which is a recording of the event, as well as the questions for the persons who might have answered in the chat. We also will share that to you in the email that you would have used to register for the event. We also post the content on the CompeteCaribbean.org page that has the Blue Innovation Call. So you don't need to worry if you've missed a question or you needed further clarification. Please also note that you can email us directly. So I think we can jump right in. We have our first person with their hand raised, which is Chandel. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
All right, hi. My question is just around the whole 3-year risk thing. I understand why you have it for like companies and making sure and lowering risk, but like, what if you're an individual acting as a sole trader and you've already been in business for longer than that? So you could technically, you've been in business for longer than 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but just based on like your definitions of it, your company may have only started like a couple of years ago, so you can't enter. Is there like any wiggle room or any clarification on that? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Samir, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. Thank you for bringing this example. For the purpose of this call, we are targeting existing companies that are incorporated. So one of the eligibility requirements is that you can provide a proof of incorporation, because we're trying to support formal, existent, incorporated business within the Caribbean. And we are not targeting to individuals per se, but to firms. So I hope that has bring some clarity here.
Kinda, yeah. Thank you.
I do see that there's one individual who in the chat was asking if we can do a walkthrough of the application form. I'm sorry that I actually missed your request. I think that we can do a quick review. I'll do a share screen and we can just do a quick review of the questions for persons who have, just want to be able to go through that. I will do that very quickly so that we can get started after on any further questions that there might be. So I'm sharing the screen, and so this will be the Blue Economy Innovation Challenge. As you know, is on CompeteCaribbean.org's website. If you go to the landing page, there's actually a quick access to be able to access the grant. You just click apply here, and you can go directly into the grant application process. So there are a few pages of information which would help persons who are applicants. A lot of it is around who's eligible, what types of businesses are that are eligible to participate, and those that might not be, and further information about the actual grant itself. So once you go through this page, it basically will give you some information that you might have questions that you're thinking about in the application process. At this point in the application, you can actually see the full application form, which is really a concept note questionnaire. That's what we're asking you to give is some information around your project. The who are you, when, where, why, how much. So if you go through the questions, there's information about your business, how many people are employed, and some of the technical sort of background information about your business. And then you get into the actual project. Like, this is your innovation. This is your concept, your idea that you would like to, that you're applying for the grant for. So you tell us a little bit about the project and its potential, how it can be scaled, what are the expectations and the metrics around the project. And as you can see, it really is just a concept note, 13 questions. There are some guidelines to help you. I know some people may feel sometimes an application process, have I written too much? Do I need to explain further, etc. So you can see that through most of the questions, that if you feel that you are more able to describe your project concept in bullet points, or if you're somebody who likes to write paragraphs, you can choose to communicate your idea in a form that is very easy for you to do, because we really do want you to apply. This form that you fill, it really does comprise the larger part of what is necessary for the application process. And then we do ask for you to submit your letter of commitment. And there's a template for that, as well as your proof of incorporation. So in a quick overview, that's really what Compete's application process is for this call. So we can go back.
To add,
sorry.
I would like to add here, Chivon, because we have received many proposals already. Some have completed the Google form, and others just have sent the letter of commitment and the proof of incorporation. It has to be the three documents. So the checklist is the Google form, the proof of incorporation, and the letter of commitment. The proof of incorporation and the letter of commitment has to be sent through the email that has been provided. And the Google form, you can complete it online through the links that Chivon just shared.
Yeah, so people are asking about the next steps. So the reality is that those of you who would have completed the Google form and submitted that, as well as your actual proof of incorporation and the other documents that are necessary in terms of that, and you're completed your proposal application, yes, you will just get a confirmation. And once you have received your confirmation, and as you know, the deadline is the 25th, we sometimes, if we do a review and there are persons who have, if we have not received a document or we have recognized that there's something that might be missing, yes, we will reach out to you just to confirm, clarify, and ensure that you have submitted and we have received all of your application documents. So just to make people feel comfortable, yes, we will reach out to you to confirm that we've received all of your documentation as you have submitted. And if there are any further things that we've recognized that may not have been submitted, we will contact you around that. I have seen another person raise their hand. Stephen, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, you said that you had to submit the form, the letter of commitment, and the proof of incorporation. Do I have to submit another more detailed project outline by the 25th?
No. So basically, what we require for the 25th are basically those are the three things. So if you have,
okay,
that's really what we need. So our Google form, and that's why we also wanted to have this meeting. It seems that maybe there are some persons who have felt that this Google form, if there was something else, or this is a precursor. So the reality is, for the purpose of the 25th, that Google form with the 13 questions and the 2 other mandatory documentation that we've requested, that comprises what is required for submission for evaluation of your innovation. So please just note that. We just need you to, those of you who have half finished, have only finished 3 of the questions, you just need to finish the other 10 questions and complete the submission for the 25th. Is there any other person who has any other questions? I don't know, Samir, if you saw any questions in the chat that I might have missed that you might want to highlight.
I'm not sure I understand.
I'm so sorry. My Siri is telling me that it doesn't understand. Sorry about that.
So yes, I have a questions about if NGOs can participate. As I mentioned earlier, this is a call that is targeted to private sector firms. So we're highly encourage private sector firms to apply. Obviously, private sector firms might have a joint venture with another organization, but the leading organization that has to apply for this call has to be a private sector firm. In order to respond to the process, for a better understanding of the process, so after the deadline, April 25th, we will have 1 week or 2 weeks for the evaluation process. We will verify that the proposals are eligible and then go through another session for shortlisting, which we will have an evaluation committee that is being integrated by members from IDB, from Compete Caribbean, and other partner organizations. And after that, we will send an email or a communication to the participants. Those who have been shortlisted will receive an email stating that they have been shortlisted, and those who have not been shortlisted will also receive an email stating that they have not been shortlisted for this call.
Okay, thanks for that, Samir. There's one question which the person was asking if a university that's not incorporated, their exact statement is, what if we are a university, we're not incorporated, our legal identity comes from Royal Charter? They're trying to find out if they can apply.
Can you repeat that? What is the status of the university?
It says that their legal identity comes from the Royal Charter.
I'm not aware of the legal status, but as I mentioned before, it has to be private sector firms that have been operating at least for 3 years in a specific industry or sector, and that's, you know, a business, an operating business for the past at least 3 years in operations.
Okay, there's another question, which is, can cooperatives participate?
If the cooperative has a legal status, yes.
So that, I think that brings us to all of the questions that we've received thus far. Oh, here's another person. This person says that they, CEO of Remora Fishing Traceability, they're a Costa Rican company, and they are interested in joint ventures. So this actually brings me to another point. I've recognized that we did have a few persons who were interested potentially in forming joint ventures. And in one of our previous webinars, we did ask persons who were interested in forming partnerships to share their information. So what I would like to do is, I would have shared this to many of you. I'm not sure if you would have received the email before the event today, but I'll put it in the chat right now. Any person who is interested in forming a JV or wants to collaborate, we do have a form that you can fill. And then what we will do is that we will share it with the persons who are equally interested. We'll make it available so that if there are any persons who at this last point before the 25th want to collaborate to form a JV to answer this particular call, this will give an opportunity for you to meet other businesses that are similar to yours, or, you know, persons who wish to collaborate as well, because we recognize that is something that people have asked on. There's another question here which says, which is going back to the nonprofits. So I think potentially this is where persons who might have joined a little bit late, there are a few questions around nonprofits. And so I think for just one last point, we can just ask you to go over the nonprofit status for application, Samir.
Yes, thank you. So I highly recommend to everyone to go to the Compete Caribbean Blue Innovation Challenge link to read very carefully the eligibility criteria and the evaluation criteria, what we're expecting from private sector firms and startups when they apply to this. And as I mentioned earlier, to those who are in NGOs that are interested in this call, this call is only focused on private sector firms that have been in operation for at least the past 3 years. Additionally to that, there is the possibility to consider a joint venture if the joint venture can add value to the operation of the firm for the purpose of this call. Private sector firms, a business operation. Non-governmental organization might be private, but they are not private sector firms. Businesses that are operation and provide us services or product to the market.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
I wanted to add also that once the shortlisted projects have been notified, we will start in the process of hiring a consultant who will be providing support in the preparation of a proposal, a full developed proposal, what we call an innovation business plan that will be presented to the investment panel around August, September. And if the proposal has been drafted in a comprehensive document that can, leverage and raise the funds and go through the eligibility funding criteria from IDB, then it will receive the funding to actually execute the activities within that proposal. But before that, what we're looking here for this particular call is that you submit the Google form. There are several questions about your business, how you're going to tackle the challenge of the blue economy, what is the innovation that you want to develop, what are your needs, what is your expertise, and please read carefully and try to respond to those questions. And this will give us an idea of what you're looking for and how innovative is your solution and how impactful in terms of generating revenue, in terms of innovation, in terms of feasibility, in terms of employment, and how it impacts the environment in a positive way to protect our oceans and rivers. So please read carefully the eligibility criteria and also read the evaluation criteria. And based on that, try to answer the questions and complete the form in order to be eligible and maybe be successful in the evaluation criteria. And also, please do not forget to include sending by email the proof of incorporation and the letter of commitment. Please note that if you are requesting $100,000, you will have to demonstrate that you will be submitting a counterpart funding, 50% of counterpart funding, which means that from $100,000, $50,000 is of counterpart funding. The half of that counterpart funding can be in cash and the other half in kind. So 25,000 in cash and 25,000 in kind, which can be the infrastructure, the operational for this particular activity. There are also some activities that we not fund. We don't fund operational, and you can have the full list there of all the activities that we do not fund. So please make sure to read carefully all this information. Maybe we can go through the eligibility criteria, Siobhan, and share it
Well, just before we jump into that, I did share a link that is in the chat. That is actually, I do note that from time to time, people might post their contact information or they put a little bio about themselves. If you click that link, it will take you to the form that you can fill. As I said, I will also share it by email. I sent it also by email before the actual event started as well. So you can also look for it after the event with the transcripts here. I recognize a number of persons are asking various questions, especially those who were talking about partnerships and collaborating. And so this will also help for those persons who might be looking to find other interested partners. And what we will do is that we will share those persons who've indicated that they wish to have their information shared, and we will have that access for those persons who would like to find a way to collaborate, to form a JV before the application deadline. There are one or two other quick questions before we go into the eligibility, Samir. I don't know if you want to just go through some of those. Yeah, actually, perhaps, yes, sorry. As you were saying that do you want to go back to the website and go through eligibility? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, if we can go to the eligibility criteria and the evaluation criteria, and also what can be funded and what cannot be funded.
Okay, so we can go back through that very quickly. I will share my screen in 1 second.
Siobhan, can I just correct something really quickly? Very important.
Yes.
So these are matching funds, and I think maybe it was a slip of tongue, but if the if the business entity that is applying is requesting for $100,000 in financing, they have to contribute the same amount that they are requesting. So they have to contribute $100,000 as well, and not 50,000 was what was said before. Now, from their contribution, 50% can be in kind, which means that if we take the overall total of the project, CompiCaribbean would be putting half of it, and the business would be putting the other half, with half of the business's half available in kind. Okay.
Thanks for that, Sylvia. So, Samir, if you want to go through, this is where we were just clarifying the persons who can participate.
Yes. So as Sylvia was mentioned, the call can finance up to $160,000. So the grant amount request should not represent more than 50% of the total budget that is necessary to implement the project. And what can be funded from this? Someone asked if these resources can be used to finance research. Obviously, we can finance R&D for product development and consolidation, testing, packaging, certifications, also the digital adoption, artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual augmented reality, big data, robotics, and also resources managing and monitoring. For example, safeguards, waste management, complaint management, advocacy, and marketing and commercialization activities, market research, segmentation, distribution channels, branding and market positioning, the integration information technology and digital integration, digital payments, and traceability here. So that's what we can, this is some example of what can be funded.
Yeah, so that person who is asking about market research, and that is also obviously in this space, you can definitely see that that would be one of the eligibility. They obviously would meet eligibility criterion there.
But just to make a difference between R&D and research, we finance R&D that can have an activity, can have the possibility for technology transfer and generate some kind of innovation in terms of product development, but not basic research. We are not financing academic papers in this call.
Right. And is there any other area that you wanted to just go through on the website?
So here, for example, we cannot finance pesticides, herbicides subject to phase out international ban, ozone depleting substances subject to phasing out international ban, fishing in the maritime environment with drag nets exceeding 2.5 kilometers in length, transboundary movements of waste and waste products except non-toxic waste intended for recycling, persistent organic pollutants, breach of the fundamental principle of workers and right at work, payment of compensate debts and taxes, operating expenses of companies, working capital for the operation of the companies, activities that the applicant regularly implement with its providers, and other requirements that are expressed on the IDB requirements. And purchase of goods, there is a maximum budget for 30% of the total amount of the consultancy that requires this equipment to implement the activity. So yeah.
And we have a question. Somebody has asked if they can apply more than once. So yes, obviously, many individuals might have a wealth of opportunity of application concepts that they would like to be able to submit. You know, there's no limit to the number of concepts that you can submit. If you wish to, if you have 5 ideas, 2 ideas, 1 idea, we welcome the submissions. The reality is that you just need to recognize that each submission is an individual application. So you will have to make sure that the requisite documentation that you're submitting is for each and is identified for each project by its description. Yeah, so just going back to, there are a few persons who previously filled the forms, and I see a number of you have indicated that you wish to have your information shared. So yes, just reconfirming that when we share the transcripts of this actual today's webinar with the video content, I will share again the registration form for those who might have been mulling it over, but those who have already committed to the fact that they're interested to collaborate or form a JV, we will send you a directory of contacts of persons who've also indicated that they wish to collaborate so that individuals can connect with one another. I can stop sharing now. As I said, if there are any persons who wish to raise their hands, Stevenson, sorry, I'm not quite sure if you had another question. I saw your hand. Oh, you do have another question. Please go ahead and ask that.
Yes, the form that was filled out in the Google form, some of the questions were quite detailed. And we had to condense them to 3 paragraphs, which was kind of hard for what we wanted to do. Will you be penalized if you exceed those 3 paragraphs?
No, I mean, the simple reality is that there are people who communicate in different ways. Some people are voluble and you know, quite fluent and speak and describe things quite with quite articulation, and then there are people who are quite concise. So the reality for any person who feels that they might wish to add more information or share more information, there's no penalty for having a 4th paragraph, for example. But the reality is that we're also trying to prevent people from thinking that you need to submit 6 pages of a concept note in one field. As you would imagine, there are people who are on the other side where they may not feel that they can actually communicate in a very long space. So it's trying to find a happy medium for all applicants. But thanks for that question.
You can submit, you know, try to be concise and rigorous at the same time, and provide the needed information within 2, maximum 3 paragraphs, or you can use bullet points. But try to that the answer provide enough information so we can evaluate your proposal.
Thanks for that. Are there any other questions that persons might have?
I also wanted to add that even though you are participating on the first phase, which is accessing to technical assistance to prepare an innovation business plan, even if when you present the innovation business plan in August or September, you don't receive the funds, at the end you will have a well-structured business plan that you can use to access to finance through other channels, or you can prepare and present to other programs that are available in the region. So at the end, you will have the wealth knowledge of what are your strategy and what are the steps to build your business and follow your goals.
I think we seem to see a large number of persons who are describing very interesting projects that they would like to be able to submit or find partners to submit. And I really do want to encourage persons, even if after this event, if you feel that you've not been able to find a partner to JV, but you actually have all these great ideas. As I said, if you just look at the chat, there are quite a number of persons who are describing project ideas and concepts. Like, we really do want you to feel confident to just complete the Google form and just set some time to go through the questions. It really is something that you can, I think it's something that most entrepreneurs can take some time to fill and feel confident. If you have to answer a few questions a day to take you to the 25th, you can break it down, or you can do it all in one go. But we do recognize here that there are quite a number of persons who are indicating that they have project ideas and projects that they would like to submit. So we do really want to encourage you to get the applications in on time, because as I said, from the chat, the concepts are quite interesting. Do we have any other questions from any persons who are here, or anything else that you want to bring to their attention, Samir, or any of the other Compete team members?
Yes, I think just adding to what you're saying, that if people they would like to match and exploring some joint venture opportunities, maybe you can write to the email that has been presented on the chat, and maybe provide like just one paragraph of the solution and what type of partnerships that you're looking for, and maybe we can help within this week trying to connect with the try to match those opportunities.
Yeah, that's the questionnaire that that we have in the chat, and as I said, I'll also share after. We can put some connections to persons, but equally, people have to be comfortable for us to be able to share their information.
Yeah.
I recognize that some people might be interested to partner, but if they feel that they're not quite ready to share information, please know, if you really do want to participate, we'll also take the information from those of you who post content in the chat. We'll take those transcripts and we'll also just format that in the directory and make sure that's available for sharing. There's a quick question here that says, if an organization or business is still in the process of getting a certificate of incorporation, would it be possible for them to receive funding or collaborate within the Blue Economy Challenge, Blue Innovation Challenge?
So I just answered on the chat, the business needs to have at least 3 years of operation. We're not financing ideas. We are financing financing ideas for existing businesses that they want to tackle a particular challenge within the Blue Economy. So it's an existing business that has a challenge and they want to try to use this grant to develop the solution that will help them to be more innovative, to be more productive, and obviously impact positively the environment.
We have Sylvanas. I noticed that you have your hand up. If you would like to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yes. Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. Can you? Oh, sorry.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. I saw Sylvanas's hand up first. So
yes.
Yes, and then I can come to you after. I'm so sorry about that. Please go ahead, Sylvanas.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have two questions. One question, actually. Is there a limit on the number of companies with which you can enter a JV partnership with in entering a bid for this competition?
Well, we are trying, this is not a cluster call. It's a call that is targeted to firms, but we have the flexibility here to accept a particular joint venture between two organizations in order to solve this. But having, I don't know how many limits, we cannot, this is not a cluster, but
Okay.
a firm that is going to lead the development of this solution, but maybe another firm will bring a particular technology to the table, or will bring a particular expertise or access to a market for this solution to be developed. So we can accept maybe a
Yes,
joint
go ahead.
venture between two organizations.
All right. The reason why I ask is that the firm I represent, which is Avasant LLC, we're based in the US, but we have operations in Trinidad and Tobago. We've normally, when we bid on these types of projects, we like to partner with maybe 2 or 3 firms that have potential to really develop something that we could ultimately scale after the fact. So that's why I asked the question.
If it can be justified during the proposal, we can evaluate.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for your question. David, over to you. I think you're next.
Okay. Good evening to all. Donati, how are you doing? But anyway, let me just proceed. Carlos, you had indicated that you'd given 2 conditions. One was that the company needed to be in operation 3 years or greater than 3 years. But I was wondering if you would care to clarify the component of that deals with innovation. Because if, for example, a company does meet the requirement of being in existence for 3 years, but the innovation of which they are speaking, and by virtue of the definition of innovation, one is not necessarily going to say that that has been around for 3 years. Are you actually saying that the innovation which is being pursued must also be something that is around for 3 years?
No, sir. Just the
Okay.
firm, the incorporation and the operation of the business.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. Are there any other persons who want to ask any questions? So just to let there were a few persons who did join us a little bit late, and just to let the persons who are joining us late know, we will share a video transcript of all the questions, because this has really been a sort of Q&A focused engagement, sort of participatory engagement session, and not our usual PowerPoint and video presentation style event. And so all the questions and the interventions in the chat with persons who are sharing their content, sharing their desire to participate, we will have all of that information to any persons who are participating now and those who registered who may not have been able to join or share with the full event. So you will receive the transcripts of today's event after this afternoon.
Hi, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I joined in a bit late, so if I'm kind of asking a bit of a question out of the lines, I'm sorry about that. Regarding the companies, because I just pick on something that I wasn't aware, it's not a cluster, but can a company, personally, I'm a tour operator, licensed tour operator, and I actually thought that I will be joining in with an NGO. Is that still a possibility? I would apply, but can my partner be an NGO or a governmental organization?
We're trying here to, the call, as I mentioned before, We are focused on private sector development. So the call is targeted to private sector firms. We accept joint ventures between private sector firms.
Okay, so if I partner with somebody, it would be better if it's a private organization, right? Because I need the expertise on certain things, and I thought it would be NGO, one particular NGO that I would actually work with, but I guess I could find a private company as well. I will have to look into that.
Sure. NGOs and government can be, can be collaborating with the project, but they will not be counted as part of the beneficiaries for this project.
Oh, so they won't be beneficiaries, right? They cannot be beneficiaries.
They cannot be the beneficiaries, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you so very much for that.
Hello,
Thank you.
I joined late. Can I be provided with a brief synopsis of the project?
Sorry?
Can you provide a brief synopsis of the project?
So in terms of being able to go through the presentation, have you visited the Compete Caribbean website?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
So what we're doing here today is that we are hoping to help those persons who are trying to apply for the Blue Innovation Grant. So if you visit the Compete Caribbean website and the application process, is there anything beside, like, obviously the information around the application process is available online. And so if there's any particular area of the application that you might have found to be difficult, or you wish to have some clarification, or you wish to be able to connect with other persons who are interested to participate in a joint venture, that's what we're hoping to be able to achieve. So is there any particular area of the application process that you have found to be a little bit difficult?
I have to go through it again.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what we would suggest is, if you want to stay on the call, we are taking questions from persons who are participating and have queries about the actual application process. If you are on the website and you're scrolling through and looking at the questions, if there's anything that comes to mind while we're still on the call, please feel free to ask, as we will also share this information from this actual event to you. You can also recap and go through the video and the application process simultaneously after the event as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
I want to clarify, because there are many questions related to the type of partnerships, the joint venture, what kind of joint venture. Obviously, we're trying, as I mentioned before, we are trying to focus on private sector firms, joint ventures that can leverage the capacity from different organizations. But if an NGO has the possibility to support the private sector firms with some kind of innovation or R&D, giving the inputs for this firm to be able to develop the solution, we can consider a joint venture between those organizations. Okay.
Actually, I just noticed this for the person who just gave the intervention. She just asked about assistance for startups. So in the evaluation of eligibility, in terms of your concept of startup, for us, any person who wishes to participate in this process must have been incorporated for 3 years. So that's just a question, Heather, that I noticed that you had put in the chat, but just in terms of that clarification for you. So for persons, the concept of a startup seems to vary, and just so for the purpose of this particular call, is any business been incorporated for 3 years or more can apply. Thank you. So just any last questions? We have 50 more minutes to go. Just checking if there are any other persons who have any queries or last minute questions that they might have. This question says, does this include a sole trader, partnerships, or just primarily LLCs?
I'm not clear about the question. Sole
terms-
trader.
Basically, because we said private sector, so I guess they're trying to clarify in terms of our concept of a private sector organization. Is it only LLCs, or is it a sole trader, et cetera? Like what incorporated private organizations are eligible?
So the definition of private sector firms are businesses that have been operating for the past 3 years, at least for the past 3 years, for the purpose of this call, that provide products or services to the market, the sales products and services to the market. So this is the type of private sector firm that we're looking for. We're not looking for private sector organization, well, the broad concept of private, that is not a non-governmental organization, but a business that has been providing a solution to the markets, either services or tangible products.
Thanks so much. Let's see if there's any other questions. Right, so obviously, yes, because of the chat, sometimes the information can get lost in the chat. So just for the purpose of everyone who's here, we have a few more minutes to go. I would like to ask those of you who would have obviously registered, there would have been an email that would have been sent to you that has a link to a Google form. This Google form is for persons who are interested to either collaborate or get further information, tell a little bit about your business. If you're willing to have your personal contact information shared with the other attendees. So I would ask you to fill that. For those of you who haven't received it, I will send it again and you can fill that, and we will share all of the contact information for persons who wish to have their personal information shared, the detail on what they would like to achieve, et cetera. All the fields are very simple in terms of like your contact email, contact phone number, your business, your name, et cetera. And then basically a little bit about you and what you're trying to achieve. So we will create a small database and make that shareable to the attendees so that those of you who wish to collaborate or to connect in some particular way with others, that there's the platform to do that. Anything further from you, Samir?
Do you think we should share the timeline? That's
In terms of the
so
next
people
steps?
can have a broad understanding of the process.
Sure, I'll do a share screen again. So yes, just to recap very quickly for those of you who are just going over if you go on Compete Caribbean's website, some people in terms of where can they find this information, where is it, et cetera, just if you need to do a recap or share with a friend. If you go on the CompeteCaribbean.org, you can do a quick, you can quickly find the link there, or you can use the link that I shared in the chat. For any person who wants to do a quick click to the application, it's actually here. You just click it and it takes you directly to the application form. If you don't think you need to read, you're just ready to start. And if you want to read through the information, there's also a little guideline in terms of the information that you will need to supply even before you get started. So this is sort of like a quick checklist before you get started, and then you can do the review. So as Samir was just suggesting, the process for application and for applicants, sometimes people ask questions after actually getting through the application process. The next question is around what happens next. So this is where we are right now. We launched in February. The submission, as we keep reminding everyone, is that we need to get your applications in the 25th by 6 p.m. And then the next steps. Well, over to you, Samir. You can go through the next steps.
So yes, as I mentioned, we will review and shortlist through the evaluation committee. And after that, we will submit. So the shortlisted projects will receive technical assistance from consultants that will help them to prepare the innovation business plan of the selected proposal that they have to submit by September 15. This proposal will be reviewed by the investment panel and have a final selection by the end of September. And once this has been approved by the bank, we will start the project. And well, we will announce first the selected proposals on October, and then start the implementation of those proposals on November. So that's the timeline for the whole process. But even though if you on September you haven't passed the requirements from the investment panel, at least you have a full document that is useful for you, the implementation of your project, and that can help you out to raise more funds or to apply to other programs out there. Thank you, Siobhan.
Of course, just to let everyone know, just as I was also indicating, the other events that we've had around the call for persons who want to get further information, you can also use the website to review the webinars that we've had. There's a search button, and if you do any searches around Blue Innovation, you'll see the previous webinars. Any questions that you might have at the last minute, if you wish to email us, please feel free to do that. If you would prefer to review the video documents that we've had, because we did host a few webinars around the topic. All of those can be found through search and Blue Innovation, because they're all tagged as Blue Innovation for this particular call. So you can also use the website to find any previous conversations and events that you might have missed if you needed to have a recap. So just letting everybody know that that is also available to any persons who are going through this process in terms of checking through, making sure that they are ready for the application process. So we have 5 minutes left. So any last questions or comments from any of the participants or anything from the team just before we?
I have a question.
Sure.
Let's just a query about a solution for sargassum, which essentially has not been explored, but by merely indicating it, one of the things, having worked with Compete Caribbean before, I am aware that you are extremely confidential in your process. But then when one is successful, let us propose that one is successful, what will you publish? If, for example, within the process of one is successful, then there is need to safeguard the process that is associated with something that is associated, like sargassum. What will Compete Caribbean publish relative to the content of something that needs an iteration relative to a patent and such like?
Well, in terms of our communication, for any person who has been an awardee, there's always an engagement interaction with the actual person before we publish any content. So the reality is that in terms of our own sort of public disclosures, et cetera, there's nothing that we would post to celebrate somebody's success in terms of being awarded and share proprietary information. You know, that's not something that will be done. And I recognize, as you said, within respect, you know, we've had previous calls blockchain innovation. This innovation space is something that we've been doing within the last, obviously within successive periods of time. And for most things related to technology, there's always a measure of proprietary information that you do not wish to have shared. So there's always a way to encapsulate the fact that a project has been awarded with discretion. And so that's always, we'll always ensure that the stakeholder who is the recipient their information is kept discreet as is required. And the information that is shared about their project, they will always have review of that as well. So if something had to go to a press release or had to be made available in a public domain, et cetera, in a speech or presentation, for example, those are things that would be shared with the individual. So there's no fear in terms of someone's innovation being made available to the Vox Populi without their engagement.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, on May 4th, how short is that shortlist typically?
You mean how many people will be selected?
Yeah.
That's a variable that we don't quite know just yet.
Oh, right. I thought you had a specific number of people for a shortlist that you wanted. Okay.
No, as Samir also suggested, that with respect to review, as you would imagine, sometimes there's a great number of projects that fit the criteria as a scale of scoring for the evaluation process.
Sure.
And if everybody scores 100, then everybody goes to investment panel, But the reality of the situation is that, no, we can't determine that there will be 5 or 8 or 10 persons going to the investment panel at this time. So, but we will communicate with persons as we are in the process. You'll be communicated with along the way. And then I also know that as applicants tend to get very excited, and they will always send an email, and we will respond in a timely manner to make sure that you feel we've heard you. So we keep abreast of understanding respectfully that you also want to know what your eligibility and how you're progressing in this process. We do understand and respect that.
On average, we tend to shortlist 5, maximum 7 projects. That depends on the proposals. And sometimes maybe we don't have the quality, right? We don't have the substantial proposals that fulfill the requirements. So maybe we end up with just 3 and 4. But obviously, if we have 2, we'll have to provide an extension, and because at the end we want to have more quality.
Understood.
Yeah, that's the other point. Thanks for that, Samir. That's an excellent point. If for whatever reason within the next week after the deadline, there is a decision that there needs to be an extension, those of you who have participated and have been a part of the sort of blue innovation, blue economy, we've started to see those of you who participate and have indicated this is an interest area. We do post all of the content to all of our social media platforms, but we also will share with you just to make sure that you know that there is an extension. I've recognized, and we probably realize this too, sometimes people do miss deadlines, and they're happy to hear there's an extension. So if that is the case, if there are only 2 firms that meet the eligibility criterion, yes, we will let everyone know if there's an extension. So we're 1 minute away for the end of this event. Any last comments or any last interventions from anyone just before we wrap up for today, and hopefully get lots of persons who feel encouraged to get that Google form completed before the 25th. So over to you guys for any last questions, queries, or comments. Samira, you want to say anything in closing? I think we've given everybody a lot to think about to get ready to fill the forms.
Well, just three key things. Please complete the Google form. Please send us the letter of commitment. Please send us the proof of incorporation. Please try to read the eligibility criteria and the evaluation criteria, so your proposal can fulfill the requirements from the judges. Please try to check what can be funded and what cannot be funded, and read carefully the full information that is provided on the website. And I wish you, all of you, best of luck, and we hope to see a lot of proposals before April, and we don't have to do any extensions. But if we do, we're happy to do it.
Thanks for that. I want to mirror your sentiment that I do hope that all the persons who attended here and they can share this information with other persons that they also, if not for themselves, for other persons who would be a good fit. I wish all of you the best of luck. And if there are any questions, any queries, please do feel free to email us. We're happy to help. We understand there might be questions or queries that you have in the process in this last few days before the application that you might need to have answered. So we are here to help any persons up until the 25th. You have until the 6 p.m. So please feel free to reach out to us. We do want to make sure that you submit in time. So yes, thank you all for attending today. I will get this cut down and return to you as quickly as possible so that you can reconnect with persons, have all of your questions answered, review the video, and get to completing the Google form in time. So thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and good luck to you. Bye, everyone.